I will start looking at the watch too. Page down, yes. This is the center of our research, the fear of these three shadows standing in front of him. I speak as a Swede, and this is a definition which is one of the leading definitions in Sweden. Bullying is ostracism and other repeated and systematic physical and psychical negative actions which aim at breaking the victim down psychically, or in another way put him or her in a situation of inferiority or powerlessness. And you can say that in Sweden in general is not so much bullying. I think it is a little bit less than many other countries, but it is around 8% and in different investigations, but this is a good one. And then I say that belonging and power are the most influential dimensions in bullying. To be allowed to belong to a group is central. If this belonging is questioned, you risk being bullied. You want to belong, but if you want power, bullying is one of the methods to get power, not only for an individual, but also for a group. So my very simple theory is the dualistic bullying theory is that persons in a group struggling for power risk becoming bullying abusers, and persons in a group struggling not for power at all, but just for the right to belong, risk becoming the victims. So the majority, they are not having much power, and they are not questioning their own right to belong. They know we belong. But the minority leads the group and have the power, and another minority wants only to struggle to be able to belong. The databasis is To Learn Democracy project from Swedish Research Council, led by Professor Carl Anders Säfström, and it resulted in 2 dissertations and our book that I also have copies, so if anybody would be interested, that we wrote on it. And in the democracy study, we had 44 interviewees, because it's a qualitative study, not quantitative as yours. And there were 10 person bullied there. And I would say that that's a very high percentage, almost a quarter, but that's due to that many of them, 9 out of the 44, were from individuella programmet. And individuella programmet has more problems. I found the bullying after the collection of data. It was on democracy, but I was interested in the interviews, the sections where it broke out bullying theme. And then the interviewer could hasten and go on to other questions, but those interruptions of bullying was what I was interested in. I also did a complementary study asking 110 students if they had during their own life been bullied, watched bullying, or having themselves bullied others. And that's for their whole life when they are students. So it's a looking back question. And the surprising result was this overlapping. So those who have no experience of bullying were 18 out of the 110, so about 60% then. And experience of having seen mates being bullied, 31 people. Being bullied but not bullied others, 30 people. Being bullied and having bullied others, 18 people. And being bullied, having bullied others but not having been bullied themselves, 9. So this overlapping is something that I haven't seen in many other investigations. There is one by Xin Li that I have found. So you see, it's a big thing, but it is over the whole school time. But we leave that student study. In my presentation, I'm going to go into this dualistic bullying theory that I have, that people strive for power, but other people strive to belong. Quite different perspectives and way of actions. I ask, how is the bullying process? Why is it repeated over and over again, like you also asked? And what actions can be taken? And I think that my theory with belonging and power can subsume other theories, and they are mostly Swedish, which I'm going to present now. The bullying process. This Gunilla Objörk. How many of you know of Gunilla Objörk? I think she's quite provocative to me, she was, because the way she describes the victim as bleak and shaky, and the way she describes the bully, they are powerful, they are mastering the rules of the group, they get jokes and they get the laughs from the other people. So I disliked it, and still what she says is very, very important. She says that there are games at school, and in that game the bullying person provokes the bullied and shows the group that this bullied person, he or she cannot respond adequately. So he or she lacks competence. And through that game, the power increases at the bully person, and the power decreases at the bullied one. From my own democracy study that Untitled Chapter and I did, what we stress, and I want to stress, is that bullying goes on continuously if you look at the bullying process. A look is enough is another thing that we found. I built on Kerstin Ratzman, my colleague, who has written on incest, and she found that a girl whose father was abusing her could, during everyday life, just put the men's magazine on the sitting room table, and then she was falling down in horror and terrorized completely, just by this paper. Nothing happening, no abuse at all, but the sign was reminding her of what's going on otherwise. And the author, the PhD dissertation, Kerstin Ratzman's author, I have been forced to change my way of thinking about this. I earlier believed that incest was equal to concrete acts of abuse, and that everything between those events was, generally speaking, normal. But nothing in the lives of the informants are uninfluenced by the incest they are exposed to. So I extrapolated that to what the experience that I had from my interviewees, that nothing in the lives of the informants are uninfluenced by the bullying they are exposed to. The other thing is that the look is enough. And Jens, a man who was fat when he was around 10 and who was always odd also when he was in the daycare center, going on with a very kind mother, a very aggressive father. And he said, I try to say something kind, and then you see in their eyes that you are a fool. You see it in their eyes. Could you give us an example? Describe those persons. The eyes. And the words stick to me, but the names and the faces, they disappear. I compare that to John Howard Griffin, who blackened his skin and traveled around as a white man in the southern states of America in 1959. What he got from white people was something he had never, ever seen before. He got the hate stare. The hate stare was such abomination, I don't know the word, thing to see. He was surprised, as a white man, he was secure in himself. He was so surprised to see that hate stare. And my hypothesis is that there is also a bullying hate stare that no one sees except those who are bullied. Only they see this bullying hate stare. Why is it then repeated? I hear Bill on Björn Eriksson, and he says that there is a difference between the administrative system and the informal system. You see the classroom, it's an administrative system. You belong there. You belong to class 3A, whatever it is. But to the informal system, you do not belong. And the teacher cannot order people to, you can be in that informal system, or you can enter that informal system. And you cannot say yourself, I want to be a part of that informal system. You can say it, but you cannot have the power over it. And that is the difference between the administrative system or the formal system and the informal system is Björn Eriksson's dualism that he says explains it. So this is what it is. And then he also have this hypothesis which is more, he's a sociologist, more social psychological. That is, you always want to keep your own self-identity. If you are having a negative self-identity, you still want to keep it. You want to uphold it. That's a horrible thing. And then for researchers, you can recognize yourself in this quote. The next event, this is my next event now, risking your prestige or your honor is as important as the preceding event. And not only that, it is as important as the sum of all earlier events. It is so that the next event where you are to perform is as much worth as all the prestige and all honor that you have already earned. This means that your whole collective prestige, your whole collective honor are always open to the attack or is already under fatal attack. This is very strange, but it explains why bullying is repeated. Because you have this game, you want to assemble the jokes and the laughter from your comrades, so you tease this person. It's over again. But teasing someone, you tease someone who wants to belong to the group. You tease that person, he's marginal in the group. But as psychoanalytically, he is marginal, you can see that he becomes central to the abuser. So as he repeats and repeats and repeats the bullying, the marginal abused person is central. Belonging then. How could we know that those abused are wanting to belong? Then I had in this study of ours, one man and two women who were not bullied. I'm not bullied. They were strong people. And they were clearly bullied when you heard what they had gone through. So then my hypothesis is that they did not want to belong to the group that were teasing them or harass them, really hard harassment. They had other reference groups, and that's the big sociologist Robert K. Merton. He suggested the term, the concept reference group, and he said it could be a group you belong to, which is your reference group, or a group that you do not belong to, but you compare yourself to that group and use that group as your standard. And these three people, they did not compare themselves to these classes where they were. They compared themselves to quite other people downtown. So that's the way I got into my mind the belonging dualism, the power belonging dualism, the belonging thing from these people. So finally, the actions, what can we take? That's what we speak a lot of. And here is a table showing the importance of fighting bullying. You see men and women, those who have been sexually assaulted in childhood, very many of them, every third man and every second woman has also been bullied in childhood. So you are at home and you are sexually assaulted. You go to school and you are bullied. This is a horrible, horrible thing to carry. So this table is from Henningsen 2009. And it's a very important table to me. Actions and to this table can force us to take. So the most commonly used action, and I also felt that in the Donna Cross speech, is to change attitudes. I think that's what most of us have talked about, so I will leave it like that. Apart from changing attitude, I think also to lessen stress, lessen noise, lessen competition is one way of going forward, to actually lessen the risk of bullying. But on the other side, lessening boredom, because from boredom is also created bullying. And then, of course, for the bullied person, I differentiate between two ways. The type 1 way is like a feminist. You fight the patriarchal structures, you go for the norm change. That's what you do. You can do that as a bullied person. You can force good norms on a group. The type 1 way. The type 2 way is that you see what dimension is it that are important in that group, inform a group that I want to belong to. Let me, myself, be very strong on those dimensions. That's what I call the type 2 way of fighting, of being bullied yourself. For teachers then, it is to listen to the bullied persons. And if the bullied person says, I want to do this, or I want to have this person as my support, or I want you to do this, this is exactly what Donna Cross also said, that to listen to youth, don't do anything without us. If you want it to be for the young person, don't do anything without us. And then, I think this is actually the most important, it's to be a valuable fellow human. A long-term, valuable fellow human. Those who have told their bullying stories for our project, they always said, there was one teacher, one school curator, there was one school nurse, and she meant so much to me. And for you to be such a long-time commitment fellow human being, I think that's very, very important. And then, as a teacher, you can also, as it is a question of power, redistribute power in your class. And in delicate ways, very, very delicate ways, try to increase the prestige of, or the status of the bullied person. So that is apart from only changing attitudes. So this is the power and belonging theory. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Hedvig. Do you have a question?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I misunderstood it, but why is your theory called dualistic? Because I would assume that everyone wants to belong. Everyone has that need, so both the bully and the victim. But with power, my bet would be that, given that power is something that you have to compete about, and status is something that not everyone can get, that bullies, for example, are in the position to create that powerful situation and to be strong in the classroom, whereas others are not able to do that, but the need to belong will also be there for kids.
Yeah, the dualistic is between two very different aims in the group. And I suggest that most people in groups, informal groups, they know they belong to it. They know they do that. The insecurity of belonging, I think that's very like taking away the floor if you do not belong. Not just that you feel a bit insecure in a new setting or something like that. And then those who fear that they are not having the right to belong, the paperless people, migrants in Sweden and so on, they are having a quite different life. So, and then they are sensitive to bullying.
Yeah, maybe we should speak more about it, because I do not completely get it, but yeah, let's speak about it.
Yes.
Yeah.